What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be talking about the Colorfly CDA L1, a new dual output dongle DAC coming in at the $60 price point. Before we get into the review, I just want to give a quick disclaimer that my review unit was sent out to me by Shenzhen Audio, who also paid the import duties on the shipment. I have not been otherwise compensated for making this review, and as always, my thoughts and opinions are my own. If you value honest, technically literate reviews, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year, and something like 99% of my viewers aren't subscribed yet. Clicking that button costs you nothing, but it sends a clear signal to brands that you value my perspective. First, let's talk about what comes in the box, which isn't much. You get the dongle DAC itself, a user manual, and Colorfly's ribbon-style USB-C to USB-C cable. There's no USB-C to USB-A adapter, which might be a con for some, but honestly, I think this is a win for Colorfly. Most generic adapters shipped with dongle DACs lack any kind of active circuitry to prevent back power, and if you daisy-chain your cables together unsafely, you could fry your connected device, so I'm perfectly fine with this being left out of the box. Let's talk about the design and build quality next. The L1 is CNC'd aluminum with a lightweight unibody construction, clocking in at 14.72 grams. The design is screwless, clean, and elegant. You've got independent volume controls on the side, and a multicolored LED that tells you the gain level and the sample rate. Red for low gain, yellow for high gain. Gain is toggled by pressing both volume buttons at once, and as I indicated earlier, the L1 offers both a 3.5mm single-ended output and a 4.4mm balanced output. I am not going to list all the supported bit depths and sample rates, but the L1 maxes out at 32-bit, 384 kHz, but for the purpose of this review, I tested it at 32-bit, 48 kHz for maximum compatibility with apps like Spotify. Let's talk about power consumption and output next. Like I do in all of my dongle DAC reviews, I measured the CDA L1's power consumption using a clone 711 coupler microphone and a Wittern U2 USB power meter. I played a -10 dBV 1 kHz test tone in Room EQ Wizard through the Moondrop S8 and increased the volume until the microphone indicated an SPL of roughly 94 decibels, and recorded the power consumption at that volume. I also noted the volume setting in Windows it took to achieve that volume level. I'll pull up the table with the results now. To be honest, these results aren't all that competitive compared to other dongles in the same price bracket. For instance, the CDA L1 doesn't hold a candle to the Sonic Memory SA500 that I recently reviewed when it comes to output power. Power draw is fairly efficient, but not the absolute best I've seen to date, and there's no idle mode. Thankfully, at least the L1 doesn't get hot to the touch with prolonged use. Alright, let's get into my subjective sound impressions. I used the CDA L1 with 4 different headphones over the last couple of weeks: the Moondrop S8, the IO Audio Volare, the Moondrop Para, and the TrueTheater Pure. I did my cited A/B testing for this review using the Moondrop S8. I should note that I was using Hibby WG01 liquid silicone ear tips with the S8 for this set of comparisons, and I was also running a custom EQ profile based on my own flavor of the JM1 target with a negative 0.8 dB tilt, 4 extra decibels of bass, and 2 extra decibels of treble. I compared the L1 against its big brother, the Colorfly CDA M2. I compare all dongle DACs to the M2 regardless of price, as I found that it gives me a consistent benchmark to compare more affordable devices against. The two dongle DACs were volume matched to within 0.1 dB of each other. My standard disclaimer applies: the differences between competently designed source devices are extremely small, and really only noticeable during critical listening in a quiet environment. Without further ado, here are my impressions. The CDA L1 has slightly more bass impact, but the M2 has better bass articulation. The M2 just sounds tighter, snappier, and has slightly better bass resolution. Male vocals on the M2 are a little thinner and drier, while the L1 sounds a bit more organic and natural. The M2 wins in terms of mid-range clarity and percussion articulation. The double kick drum pattern playing through the chorus of Lift Me Up by Five Finger Death Punch really showcased this in particular. Overall treble emphasis is pretty similar between the two, but the M2 has better control over this. The L1 sometimes gives treble transients a tiny bit of a harsh edge, while the M2 comes off as a bit more refined without being less detailed. Soundstage and instrument separation also slightly favor the M2. It's just a little bit roomier with more space between instruments. To sum it all up, the CDA L1 is clearly part of the Colorfly family. It has their signature tuning focus on treble energy and detail, but when compared to the CDA M2, it's just not as refined or technically proficient. Honestly, this one is hard to recommend, not because it's bad, but because the Sonic Memory SA500 still exists. For just $13 more, you get way more output power. If you have a pair of particularly inefficient headphones or just want as much headroom as possible, the SA500 is definitely the better choice for the money. With that said, if you want to get a taste of Colorfly's house sound and want something small, well-built, and clean-sounding for under $60, the CDA L1 might still be worth a look. Thanks for watching until the end of the video. I appreciate it more than you know. There's plenty more on the way in terms of both my audio gear reviews and my camera content. Until next time, this is Bedrock Reviews, signing off.